Are you seeking fulfillment for your life? Do you want freedom from fear? That's why we're here. Welcome to Jesus 101, introducing you to the real Jesus. And now, here's your host, Elizabeth Talbot.
Welcome to Jesus 101. Thank you so much for joining us. We continue with our series, The Exodus Journey. We're learning a few things from the book of Exodus that are helping us on our own way to the promised land. And today we have a topic that I think all of you will really enjoy. It's the God that specializes in impossibilities. Did you know that every miracle in the Bible started with a problem? So if you have a problem today, you're a candidate for a miracle. I want to tell you one of the most desperate moments of my life. Today we're going to find Israel in a situation where they get desperate, a no way out situation. And I'm sure you had many of those situations. I had a few in my life, but I have one that I wanted to bring a visual of, and this is it. After studying 8 years on my PhD, I was running out of time. I did my PhD in England, and they have very strict rules about how many years you can study. And I had one more week to send my dissertation in and for the people that were going to be taking my exam. And I was leaving the next day to preach somewhere. Actually, it was in Alaska. And I only had that one day to receive the notes that my professor had mailed me, the old style mail. So I was waiting for the mailman. And I don't know how this happened, but the mailman left a little note on my door, even though I had been waiting for it. And I got so desperate because I was going to lose 8 years of my life and thousands of dollars if I couldn't get that manuscript that day, because the next day I was leaving and that was it. No more days left. And I got this note and I called the post office and said, I have to get this package today, the one that you guys tried to deliver. Well, you have to go to the center that is in this other city. I said, I'll go anywhere. He says, well, we close in 20 minutes. And I said, no, you gotta wait. And I explained the whole thing, my whole life, 8 years, and all these thousands of dollars that I was gonna lose. They said, well, come here and we'll have the package for you, but you have to hurry. I drove like crazy. I got there past 5 o'clock when they were closing. And I started knocking at the door. It was all dark, nobody there. And I started crying. I started crying out of desperation. No way out, just crying. And I must have, knocked at that door. I don't know why I kept knocking, because it was obvious there was nobody there. And probably 15 minutes. Crying and knocking and crying and knocking, thinking, I can't believe this ends here. All of a sudden, this one person, and I could see them because it was a glass door, coming from the inside with a little package. They opened the door and they gave me the manuscript. Well, this is all these pages that you see here. This is my copy of that PhD dissertation that I did on the theology of rest in the Gospel of Matthew. That took me 8 years, and I spent those 8 years in 3 verses of the Bible. But I will never forget that day when I thought it was all over, the desperation. And I thanked that person so much. I said, you don't know, you changed my life. I had no way out if you didn't do this for me. And they probably didn't understand what it meant for me, but I tried to explain it. Today, we are going to find Israel in one of the most desperate moments of their lives. A situation that it seems that God put them there in a no way out situation. They're going to be just there, mountain on one side, mountain on the other side, the sea in front of them, and Pharaoh behind them. What are they going to do? I'm sure some of them cried out, and we'll see what we can learn for our own lives. And today, to help us with this topic, once again, we have Pastor Ty Gibson. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, it's great. I'm enjoying the book of Exodus.
Yes, and what a hard story if we try to apply for our lives those moments in which we say, what's going on? What's going to happen? No way out situation.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in a no way out situation?
I've been in a few of them. One of them, I don't know if you can relate to this. I don't think so. But in my teens and 20s, I used to do a lot of what's called free climbing.
Okay, no, I
which
can't.
Is
I can already tell you, no, I can't.
Which is vertical rock faces.
Oh, wow.
And I was pretty adept at it, and so I had a level of confidence that really put me in a position where I was doing things that I shouldn't be doing.
Wow.
And on this one occasion, I was climbing this face. I got about 30 feet off the ground, and I was confident, and I got to a place where there was not another handhold, fingerhold, not another foothold. I couldn't go up and I couldn't go down.
Wow.
And there were no ropes. I wasn't climbing with ropes. I was free climbing.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, what am I going to do? And I was panicking, and my friends saw the situation. And I held on for dear life, Elizabeth, until they literally hiked around to the top to drop a rope to me that I could finally take hold of, and they could,
Wow, that is something.
Yeah.
I didn't know you had that wild side.
Well, I don't anymore because now
you're older?
My wife has forbidden it.
She's wise.
Yeah,
she's wise.
She
Well,
said,
you have
no
children
more of that,
and
no more of
grandchildren
that.
now. Well,
so
thanks
that
for
was an
sharing
impossible
that.
situation.
Yes, and sometimes we are in impossible situations emotionally.
Yeah.
Sometimes we feel spiritually like we don't see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And today we're going to find Israel there, the people of Israel that have been delivered. And, we like the first part. Let's go to Exodus 14, where they have been delivered. And I always say we don't realize what's going to happen in the previous two verses right before chapter 14. The Lord is going before them in a pillar of cloud, says verse 21 on Exodus 13. They're doing great. They're being guided. Read verse 22 for us. This
Chapter
is 13?
14?
No, 13,
Chapter
22.
13, verse 22.
Okay.
Yeah. He did not take away the pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night from before the people.
So they're being guided supernaturally. There's a pillar of cloud.
They have to have some confidence at this point.
Yes. They've been delivered by the blood of the Lamb. We saw that. I always... I like this picture. I don't know if you've seen it before. This is by a local artist done in wood, but many of us have different versions of this picture of Jesus with his children, and we like it this way, holding onto his hand, being guided by God, and many of us get assurance from this type of thing. God is with me, and God is obviously with them.
Yeah.
Why would God now say, go back and camp in a place where you don't have a way out?
Well, maybe. I'm going to hazard a guess here. I think that part of their emancipation from slavery is not just freedom from economic and physical slavery, but mental and emotional slavery. So God is going to deliberately put them in a position, right? Put them in a position where they're going to have to go through some changes in their mental and emotional orientation, their spiritual orientation, and begin to trust him in ways they have not trusted him. Because when you're in slavery, you're governed by fear. And so God is going to have to lead them through a process where they begin to think differently.
Ty, that's profound.
Well, we're all going to have to go through that journey.
Yeah, and I was going to tell you, because we started this journey saying some of the lessons we learn in the Exodus, right? It's not all about God. God's purposes will be fulfilled. But one of the lessons we need to learn is to trust God when we don't understand.
Yeah, that's right.
And especially when we don't see the way out. And when we get to places of impossibility. Because after all, our salvation was an impossibility.
Yeah.
For us, right?
It's the ultimate impossibility.
The ultimate impossibility. So unless we come to believe that God is the God of impossibility, actually that's our lesson for today, and I'm actually going to say it from the very beginning of the program today. God specializes in solving impossibility, of which our redemption cost him the most.
Yeah.
Right? It's the greatest
impossible for us, but not for him.
Yeah. Right? And somebody said, from now on, read impossibility as I am possibility.
I like that.
Yes, I am possibility. Yeah. And God opens ways when there is no way.
Yeah.
And but what really catches my attention is the fact that after this fact that there was a pillar of fire and all of that, God makes them go to a place that there's no way out. And it says on verse 2 of chapter 14, tell the sons of Israel to turn back. So they have already
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of passed this spot.
Right, right.
And God says, no, 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 no. You got to go back. And where are you going to go? Well, you're going to camp by Pihahiroth between Migdol and the sea, and you shall camp there in
Yeah,
front
yeah.
of the sea. What
Yeah.
for? And verse 3 and 4, if you want to read it.
For Pharaoh will say to the children of Israel, they are bewildered by the land. The wilderness has closed them in. I think it's fascinating right there that that he's anticipating that they're going to be bewildered by the land. And the fact is, he knows what he's talking about. They're going to be bewildered by the land, by the wilderness. There's a security in slavery.
Yes, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
There's familiarity back there.
I was going to say, in general, and this is profound, we usually choose the familiar over the healthy.
Wow. Yes, we do.
Well, you're surprised that I say something
No,
wise?
no, I'm not surprised. I'm blown away by that level of clarity in a single sentence because that just resonates so deeply.
Yes, and I mean, even family dynamics, dysfunctionalities, the whole thing. You say, this is never going to happen to me.
Yeah.
Well, chances are it will because we choose the familiar over the healthy.
My mother did that for years in an abusive marriage, and that's why that resonated so deeply with me, you know,
because
for years.
that's what you know.
Yeah.
And even here, when they are in the no way out situation, they will say, oh, we wish we were back in Egypt, enslaved again, because that's what they know.
Yeah, there's a song I love by Bruce Cockburn that is titled Pacing the Open Cage.
Wow.
And the poetry of the song is that, you know, you're in the cage, but the door's open,
and
you're pacing. You're pacing,
in the cage, and you don't get out.
So your slavery is mental and emotional.
Wow.
Physically, you could walk free at any moment, but mentally,
you're keeping yourself in.
You're keeping yourself in.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's deep. we came deep today, Ty. So here, the Pharaoh realizes after the mourning of the first son has had a few days that he realizes they have now lost cheap labor.
Yeah,
it's what have we done?
We mentioned that before, but he has economic interests here.
Absolutely. What is this that we have done? Verse 5, that we have let Israel go from serving us. Yeah. So he gets his army together, and it says that he got 600 of his select chariots, and then all of his other chariots.
Right. That was a mistake.
Because they're all going to be in the water, you mean?
That was a mistake. He didn't see what was coming.
No, he didn't see what was coming. He wants to get them back.
Right.
I am interested. I'm going to show these pictures again. You said that you went to Egypt, but unless we understand the magnificence of what they represented, we don't understand why Israel would be so terrified. But don't forget that this is the most powerful dynasty at the time in the world.
Yeah.
And when you visit the temples, this is Abu Simbel in the south of Egypt, and when you see some of these temples that are so magnificent, I mean, even when you go to the pyramids, and that was hundreds of years before the Exodus is happening, you realize that these people were like...
It was intimidating for the children of Israel.
They knew the people were trained in the army. They had the best chariots of the time. They are powerful. They're not just like these little people that are going to fight with us, and of course we're going to get some sticks. And no. They know they're going to lose if they have to face them. Right? And they get terrified, and they ask 3 questions in their okay, so I'm going to read verse... Oh, you want to read verse 7?
Verse 7. Also, he took 600 choice chariots and all the chariots of Egypt and the captains over every one of them. So he's throwing in everything. He's bringing
the whole thing.
And
they chased, verse 9, they chased after them. Go ahead.
So the Egyptians pursued them, all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh, his horsemen and his army, and overtook them, camping by the sea beside Pi-hahiroth.
Yes, that's okay.
Before Baal-Zephon.
Yes, we don't really know where these places were. And as they drew near, the sons of Israel looked and beheld the Egyptians, and they are terrified, says the Hebrew. They go into this panic, and then they have all these questions, 3 questions for Moses. Is it because there were no enough graves in Egypt that you brought us here to die here? Second, why have you dealt with us in this way? Is it not the word that we spoke to you in Egypt? Leave us alone that we may serve the Egyptians? Look, familiar over the healthy.
Familiar over the healthy and slavery over freedom. Because I mean, think about it. Freedom requires responsibility. You can't have freedom without having to kind of take charge of your situation and actually, be responsible with the freedom that you're exercising.
Yeah, because you have freedom from and freedom to.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. So God wants to develop us as individuals into people of healthy self-governance by His grace, right? But healthy self-governance is preceded by freedom for sure.
Yeah.
They don't want the freedom. They want the familiarity. They want
They want to be
taken care of.
slaves again.
They want to be slaves.
And this moment is very special for me. The next two verses were the two verses that I think I mentioned to you, that when I was getting divorced from my first husband in a very difficult situation, the therapist said, I'm going to give you two verses today. So I got to his office and saying, what's going to happen now?
Yeah.
I mean, I've invested 15 years in this marriage. What's going to happen now? And of course, now we're many years later, and I've been married to Patrick for 20 years now. So I can tell the story with a whole different outlook than I did at that moment, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, what am I going to do? What's going to happen? I don't see a way out. And he said, I'm going to read to you two verses that apply to you. And he came to Exodus 14 and read verses
Really?
13 and 14.
These were the verses.
These were the two verses.
Wow.
And he said to me, verse 13 of chapter 14, Moses said to the people, do not fear. Stand by and see the salvation of the Lord, which He will accomplish for you today. The Egyptians whom you have seen today, which meant whatever is enslaving you right now,
Yeah, you
will never
no
see
more.
them again.
Wow.
The Lord will fight for you while you keep silent.
The Lord will fight for you. Did you experience that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The Lord fights for all of us. And the hard part for me is to keep silent. I am serious. Because I want to do something. I want to make things work.
Yeah.
And the problem is when there is a sea in front of you, you cannot open the sea.
Right.
But I try. I will make a boat. I will try to do something, right? Because
Take swimming lessons.
I'm a resourceful person. I want to do this, right?
Yeah.
And God says, no, trust me. And the word see is very important because it says stand by and see the salvation, because the Egyptians you will never see again, but you will see the salvation of them. There were two things. One, they had to unsee. The other one, they were going to see.
I mentioned the abusive marriage that my mom was in. Something very similar to this happened. This is on a much larger scale, but for us as a family, we had our own little exodus where we drove one night out of Los Angeles.
Wow.
After my mom received her last beating in the abusive marriage. She finally worked up the courage to walk away. Well, actually, she ran away with us 4 children in the car. She drove off into the night over to her own parents' house in Phoenix, Arizona. And that was the first sense of freedom that I ever felt. To that point in my life, all I knew was anxiety and fear and bondage. My earliest memories were just memories of terror.
Wow.
And suddenly, when we were driving away, it was just like, oh, I'm so glad that she finally left, And I was the oldest of 4 children.
Wow.
So we had our own little mini exodus,
which was as
leaving.
real as the exodus it was for
them. And
them.
I'm telling you, Elizabeth, the word impossible is the word that applies to how it felt for my mother, how it felt for us children. It felt there's no way out of this. There's no way out. There's no way out.
Wow, and all of a sudden there was.
There was a way out, and the way out was our grandmother.
Wow.
Our grandmother gave my mom the courage, her mother, my grandmother, gave my mother the courage to
leave.
flee, to run,
Wow.
to cross the Red Sea. Yeah.
Praise the Lord. And hopefully somebody that is listening to us, maybe God will give you the courage today not to stay in an abusive situation.
Yeah, for sure.
And let's continue. Thanks for sharing that story. That's very personal, very deep. Thank you. And hopefully we'll assure somebody else that is needing to make that same decision. And so we now see that God is going to make a way where there is no way. The Lord will fight for you while you keep silent. We're going to stop here and show you a video that we have made for the children. So if you have children at home, we want to tell you a little bit about the crossing of the sea. Well, we're going to show you a cartoon we made. So call the children.
Hi, I'm Lizzie, and I want to welcome you to Jesus 101 for Kids. In today's video, we are going to talk about the Passover and the Exodus. You can find these stories in Exodus 12 and 14. When it was time to leave slavery in Egypt, God taught the people of Israel a very important lesson. Their freedom would cost the life of a little lamb, and they were to paint their doorpost with the blood of that lamb. When the angel of destruction came by, he would pass over those houses that were painted with blood, and no one would be hurt. This important event was called the Passover, and it pointed to the real Lamb of God, Jesus, who would die so that we could be free. Because he took our place, we don't have to fear the future or the judgment of God or anything else. Jesus is our Passover lamb, and we are given the gift of eternal life. After many years of slavery, Moses delivered the people of Israel, and they began their journey to the Promised Land. But there was one big problem. The Red Sea was in front of them, and they couldn't cross it. But God did a miracle. He made a path through the waters. He divided the waters so they could cross to the other side. When sin entered the world, the human race also had a big problem. Sin came between us and God. How could we possibly cross over to God's promised land? So glad you asked! Jesus died and rose again so that now there is a way for everyone who believes in him. That is the greatest miracle. So now we are on our way to the promised land. Are you excited? I am!
I love that video.
Oh, it's excellent. And then little Lizzie is you, isn't it? Yeah, that's
it's
you.
the avatar. We have a coloring book, and these videos go with the coloring book.
Elizabeth as a little girl.
Yeah, Lizzie. Yeah, there you go. and that's, I love the typology, the symbolism in this cartoon, because the way God would make a way where there was no way on the sea is teaching us about salvation, how God made a way where there was no way, right? And it's important to understand that later on in the New Testament, this will be brought up to saying, see, I am the way.
Yeah, Jesus is the way,
right?
Yeah.
So anyways, we're going to look at this because now they're going to cross the sea. And God is going to make a way where there wasn't one. Because sometimes we say, well, God is the God of second chances. Absolutely, he reroutes our life. He recalculates when we took a detour.
He's resourceful.
But sometimes he makes a brand new path where there isn't one.
Yeah.
Do you trust your GPS? I see you have your phone. Do you have your GPS?
Yeah. That's the only way I got here this morning from the hotel.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
So let me see. Where are you staying? Let me see.
Well,
okay.
I'm staying at La Quinta.
Okay, so this tells you how to get from where we are to your hotel. Wow, we are close. I have a long drive to get home.
Yeah, it's only 3 miles.
And the GPS does something. It recalculates.
It recalculates, yeah.
But this GPS cannot create new roads.
No, it can't create new roads, but it will reroute you if there's like a traffic accident or
it
something.
will reroute
you know what I mean? It'll say, no, maybe you should go another route.
Yes, it recalculates.
Yeah.
You know, now I call the GPS grace positioning system.
I like that.
Because God not only recalculates, sometimes he makes brand new ways where there is no way, and his grace does that.
Yeah, for sure. He's done it for me.
Yeah, for me too. And here they're going to cross. In a way where there was no way before. The whole miracle is narrated in 2 verses, and that's Exodus 14, verses 21 and 22.
Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all night long, and made the sea into dry land, and the waters were divided. So the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea on the dry land, on the dry ground, and the waters were like a wall about them on the right hand and on the left.
And here's the miracle. He made a way where there was no way. His GPS does that. His grace positioning system does that. And in this case, the Pharaoh and his people thought, oh, there's dry land. I mean, sometimes I'm thinking, didn't they realize this was a miracle? They said, oh, we're going to go after them. And of course, you know, the whole thing closed up and they perished. And the summary here on verse 31 says, Israel saw the great power which the Lord had used against the Egyptians, and they feared the Lord, and they believed in the Lord and in his servant Moses. Remember that Moses has said, you will see the salvation?
Yeah.
And here they saw the salvation.
There is a pattern, because over and over again, you read these verses where the children of Israel are blown away, they're amazed. Whoa, look what God did. And there's all this, like it says here, they believed.
Yes, and then they're not, is God with us or not?
As soon as there's some trouble.
Yes, and we're going to see some more of these programs where they question, right? But right now we are in a song, in the middle of a song called the Song of Moses. It's actually a song about Yahweh, to Yahweh. More than actually 10 times the name of Yahweh, the name of their God is mentioned here. You redeemed us, you did this, you did that. It's a beautiful celebration.
Yeah.
And then there is a verse at the end of verse 20 that says...
in chapter 15?
Yeah. Miriam the prophetess, Aaron's sister, took the timbrel in her hand, and all the women went out after her with timbrels and with dancing, celebrating. And I'm thinking, who packs a timbrel?
Well, someone who's expecting victory.
Yeah, somebody
You know what I mean?
that is expecting a big deal that, I have to have something to celebrate. We don't know what the timbrels look like. Some people said that they already had the medals. Some people said that it was just skin, like this.
Okay.
But whatever it is, Miriam goes, okay, I'm packing sandals, a coat. What am I going to pack? Oh, I know, a timbrel.
Something to celebrate with.
Yeah, something in case God does something so big that I have to celebrate. And this whole song, and I hope you take the time at home to read it, is the song about how magnificent Yahweh is and his redemption. We have called this program God's Redemption, and the way that he made a way where there was no way. How, you know.
Yeah, verse 13, it says the people you have redeemed.
That's
There's our word again, your favorite word.
Yeah, my word, Goel, the kinsman redeemer.
Is that Goel there too, in that particular verse? Yeah.
Yes, it's Goel, the kinsman redeemer, that would do for us what nobody else could do for us.
Wow.
And God has made a way where there was no way. Jesus is that way. And perhaps it's time for us to take that timbrel and live. The challenge is to live on this side before we cross over to the promised land, already assured that this is happening because God said so.
We can, because Jesus, we have, as a historical act, the sacrifice of Christ at the cross. And, you know, we, like the children of Israel, we complain, we lose faith, but man, we have evidence.
Yes.
We have solid evidence of God's victory on our behalf in Christ.
And we can start now celebrating from now on.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for being here, and let's celebrate. I'm going to go to the cross to finish the program.
Right.
Thanks for being with us, Ty.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that's the way it is. You know, this Song of Moses that we find in Exodus 15, well, we find it again in Revelation 15 when the end has come and we have gone to the promised land and we are by the sea with our instruments celebrating. And it says that we are singing the Song of Moses and the Lamb, because that was a symbol of what Christ would do, what he did at the cross. What do you say? Take the challenge and start living with assurance and with joy, no matter what you're facing, because we serve a God that specializes in impossibilities, of which our redemption cost him the most. So take the challenge, start living with joy now. Soon we will be in the promised land. Why? Because he made a way where there was no way. And he said, I am the way.